Oppo, the Chinese powerhouse, has done a lot to impress in the West in the past 12 or so months. The Find X3 Pro was a great flagship device, and the firm recently released the Find X5 series. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Oppo Find X5, the standard variant, the one designed to compete with the iPhone 13 and Galaxy S22. For £750, is this thing worth your money, or should you go with something else? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and thanks to Vodafone for sending this phone out. Here is my review of the Oppo Find X5 in 2022. We must start by talking about the design. It reminds me very much of the Find X3 series with the obscure camera housing. The way that the lenses melt into the chassis is something that other smartphone makers should take note of. And I particularly enjoy the way that it's not perfectly squared but instead has a diagonal line to it. Very nice. The rest of the phone is equally sleek. This black model has a soft touch frosted matte glass back that feels as good as it looks, which is to say fantastic. The metal rail is easy to grip and presents the incredibly underrated separate volume buttons, which feel very nice, very tactile, and the nicely accented green power button. The SIM tray is at the bottom next to the USB-C port and the bottom speaker. The in-display fingerprint scanner is very well placed and is fairly accurate. It's definitely not the fastest thing in the world. I felt faster in-display fingerprint scanners, but this one is quite reliable for me, and even though it takes a little while to come on, it accepted my fingerprint pretty much every single time. The punch hole is at the top left, which isn't where I like it personally. I'm more of a center punch hole kind of guy, that's personal preference. You may prefer it up in the corner where it's out of the way, but I prefer that sort of symmetrical look in the center. The thin bezels surround a 6.55 inch 1080p 120Hz AMOLED display, which looks and feels great. With 1000 nits of peak brightness, it's definitely not the brightest display in the world, but 1000 nits is very respectable, and this thing does get very bright outdoors. Might not be as good as sort of a Samsung or iPhone that's priced slightly higher, but it looks very good and feels very responsive. The display definitely feels like it could even be a gaming display. It's very good. I've said very good many times today. I very much noticed immediately out of the box that the screen was quite vibrant, maybe too much. However, there are options to dial this down in the settings. Gaming on here is also a great experience thanks to the Snapdragon 888. This is almost in a lot of ways like the Find X3 Pro, just for the Find X5 series, I guess. So the camera specs are very similar, we'll get onto that a little bit later, and the processor specs are very similar. So it's a Snapdragon 888, it's not the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, I will correct myself on the screen if I was incorrect about that, but I believe that's what it's called. It's not in this one, that goes in the Pro model. This, the standard variant, gets the last generation 888 processor with 8 to 12 gigs of RAM. The model that I have was very respectable, very quick. Gaming was absolutely fine on the thing, as it was with the Find X3 Pro, so you can kind of compare them apples for apples in many ways. It's a very good set of specifications, and I feel like, you know, for £750, although it hasn't got the flagship chipset, it's good enough for that money, especially when you incorporate the quality of the other aspects of the phone like the camera and the screen. I found no hangs or lag or crashes in my week and a half with the device, and this is of course due to the high-end specs, but also due to the Sable software. This model is running ColorOS version 12.1 on top of Android 12, and I've grown to rather like ColorOS as a skin. It's very clean looking, it's very friendly and bubbly, and it's not as over the top as it was a few generations ago, and it feels a lot more streamlined, and it feels like a lighter skin on the top of Android, whereas older versions felt a little bit clunky, a little bit too much, felt like maybe it was holding the phone back a little bit. You definitely don't feel like that with this skin. You shouldn't run into longevity issues either. The battery life on this thing is very good. I got to the end of the day with 30% left in the tank on quite a heavy day of usage, which is very respectable indeed. The 4800 mAh battery is plenty big, and of course, if you want to, you can top it up during the day with the included 80 watt charger. No, I'm not taking the mick. It comes with an 80 watt brick and the cable in the box. This tops up the phone in around 35 minutes from 0 to 100, which is really fast, and you won't have any issues, you know, throughout the day. If you plug it in for 5 minutes, you're getting a good amount of usage out of just the 5 minutes of charge. And did I forget to mention that it's included in the box? But I digress. At £750, this is where I expect many smartphones to start to fall off in the camera department. Now, I get it, lots of manufacturers these days are pumping out good cameras at a budget even, but this is where in the past other, you know, non-Samsung and Apple makers do tend to be a little bit meh with the software processing. The hardware selection on the Find X5 is fantastic. You've got two 50 megapixel sensors, a very similar setup to what we saw on the Find X3 Pro. You also get a 2x telephoto that's sort of a lesser sensor, and of course you don't get the gimmicky camera that you got on the Find X3 Pro, the macro camera. I have to say, this thing holds up very well. Images look clear, crisp, and with refreshingly natural colours. Sure, there's quite a lot of digital sharpening going on, which can make some images look a little clinically crisp, if you will. I think I'd actually quite like Oppo to back off a little bit in that department. However, I was very pleased with the way that this thing handled low light, and apparently that has something to do with the Mari Silicon X text on the camera back. This NPU is apparently designed to boost low light performance in photos and videos. We'll discuss video in a second, but I think in the photos, I was rather impressed. The ultra-wide camera is also a massive strong point for the Find X5, thanks to the large sensor and fast glass. It does pick up a lot of light and detail to create images that look complete. The 2x telephoto is a bit meh. I like the focal length, but honestly the sensor and lens combo are a tad underwhelming. Does it matter at this price point given the rest of the device? No, but I think it's worth mentioning that you need to up your spend for something with more long range quality. Right, let's go back to that low light video thing that I mentioned earlier. Night video does look okay in the way that it boosts the exposure to reveal details. However, in order to keep the detail in the shots, it has to add quite a lot of noise, or rather not use much noise reduction. I expect many to be turned off by this, but it is cool that Oppo is allowing users to capture important moments no matter the lighting scenario, even if the results are far from clean. In normal lighting scenarios, the Ultra HD 60p video looks solid. I really enjoyed using it at the weekend when we had some glorious sunny weather here in Cornwall. It's very nice looking footage that I'd be happy to use even in YouTube videos. So then, at £750, should you be buying one of these? Well, I don't think it does anything particularly perfectly. I don't think it's the best at anything. It's a bit like a jack of all trades, and I know that is a bit of a cliche, but it does everything really well. The battery life is excellent, the screen is brilliant, quite literally in that case. The performance is very good, the cameras are solid, the charging is obviously out of this world fast, and for £750 I find that it does pretty much everything really well. It even feels hyper premium and it looks really good as well. So then, if you are in the market for a £750-ish smartphone, maybe skip the Galaxy S22 and maybe just go for one of these, especially if you're in Europe where we get the sort of lesser Exynos variants of the Samsung smartphones. This is looking really good, and actually I am loving the way that Oppo is handling its camera department at the moment. It's on a bit of a tear. So I want to thank Vodafone for sending out this smartphone for review. It was great to check it out. I really enjoyed playing around with the Find X5, actually more so than I thought, because I thought not being the Pro it wouldn't be all that fun to use, but actually it was very good fun, and obviously it comes in a little bit under the price as well, so it makes for a really solid smartphone, really good all-rounder, and I'll leave links to where you can buy it from Vodafone in the video description. Also down there are the links to my social media, so go check those out if you haven't already. I'm quite active on what is going on? I'm quite active on Twitter, so link will be down there. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for being continually supportive. Thank you so much, guys. I'm Ryan Thomas. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one, and I'll see you later. Peace.